With thanks to Draftstars, Australia's #1 daily fantasy platform for your NFL daily fantasy. I'm Smatho, he's my carry guy. Welcome to Week 9 Draftstars NFL Show. Another 11 games of NFL action coming to you this week with a bonus hour of prep and preparation. And when we say prep and preparation, we mean sleep, don't we, Tom?
That's right. How good. Might recover by Tuesday this week instead of Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh, it's been a tough slog, especially that 3 a.m. to start with. The 4 a.m. was great, but now you can watch the sun come up if you're in those kind of states where you get the sun up pretty early, like down here in Tassie, and watch some NFL action. Now, speaking of NFL action, how'd you go last week, Tom? Because I see a little green dot in the old top 3.
Yeah, I finally had a decent week. Got the early lead. I think my lineup was done after the early game, so just had to sit there and see if anyone could run it down. And yeah, a couple of people did. Pete Bet had a great lineup there, so too good.
Now, just before we speak about Pete Bet, a little sneaky win for myself in the old Monday night game. It doesn't hurt. Obviously, a little bit of a little chop with five, 6 other people. Hey, but win's a win. So you got to celebrate these wins, Tom, when you get them. But speaking of wins, here we go. Pete Bet. Look, it's a Tom Brady, Godwin little stack there, but pretty much he's just nailed everything else. Carter and Mitchell end up being the top running backs from the slate. Godwin, Deebo Samuel, even Najee Harris up there. It just seemed to get all the pieces right and just came through in the end for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Michael Carter was kind of the key play on the slate, 7% owned. And the only way I could get there was as a bring back on the Bengals stacks, but some other people managed to play him standalone, which was a brilliant move. And yeah, obviously, AJ Brown, Deebo, Najee Harris, they're all players that have been going well. Known high ceiling players in good spots. So just a great lineup. Can't really knock it.
No, you can't knock that one. In terms of the high scoring players there, we did mention the Tennessee Colts game last week, which I managed to get a couple of entries in, which obviously got me into the cash, which was great. AJ Brown, Pittman were kind of essential for those kind of stacks. Brady again, he's just appearing in winning lineups year after year. Oh, sorry, not a year, week after week. If you look at the total selections there, Cooper Kupp, look, he does Cooper Kupp things, 27.5 there. Derrick Henry finally had his off game, but he got injured, didn't he?
Yes, he did. I went about 75% Derrick Henry in my lineup, so I was lucky to get away with that one. And yeah, sadly, we won't get to use him again this year. So it was a nice run while we had him, but time to think about other people.
Melvin Gordon has always been around that cheap $8,000 price tag, so he actually popped off for a lot of people at 19.2. Josh Allen is pretty much almost a lock for you every week. Dan Arnold at 5,000 at 14.8. Look, yeah, most of the chalk went off, apart from obviously Kyle Pitts and probably Henry last week. So, congrats on your third place last week. Obviously, that gives you some breathing room for the rest of the season once again. But Pete Bet, congratulations to you, mate. That's a good win for you there. All right, let's move on to the Week 9 slate for Draftstars this week. 11 games. We've got the 8 early and the 3 on the late. It's a 5 a.m. start, which is awesome for us NFL watchers. A $30,000 prize pool with the micro, the mini, and the high roll, all available. Let's have a look at the betting board for this week, Tom. Not many games here that really stand out from a high point spread purpose here. Is there any games that stick out for you straight away?
Just seems to be getting worse every week, doesn't it, with these totals? I don't mind the Ravens-Vikings game. I think the Vikings don't get enough respect, in terms of their ability to keep up with that tight core of Cousins, Cook, Thielen, and Jefferson. I don't mind that one. Don't really love anything else. Obviously, the Chargers are a pretty dangerous team any week, and the Eagles, they haven't been great so far, but maybe they can do a bit to keep up on the back of Jalen Hurts and his dual threat abilities. And yeah, just can't see much else there that I.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because obviously Ravens at 50.5 over the Vikings could be a game that could get out of hand, and especially with Lamar Jackson now throwing the ball more often. So I don't mind that game for a stackable kind of game, and I actually don't mind the Vikings as a bit of a bet. What do you reckon?
Yeah, Vikings are definitely my bet this week. $3.15 I saw them at. Yeah, I can definitely see a sneaky little upset there. And I got the Panthers last week. I'm happy with that.
Oh, you did too. You did too. Wow. Vikings at $3. I don't mind that at all. I don't mind it. All right, let's check out the injury news for this week. Now, a few guys on COVID lists, including Aaron Rodgers, Noah Fant, and AJ Green. We also lost Jameis Winston to a knee injury. Buckley, Ridley, Sterling Shepard, Henry Ruggs, also he's out for no longer in the league. Beckham Jr., Dawson Knox, and Latavius Murray are all out this week. As for the questionable tags, majority here are actually good to go, but just keep an eye on these guys, including Tua, Kyler Murray, Darnold, Robertson, Deebo Samuel, CeeDee Lamb, Hopkins. Sammy Watkins is probably one you might have a look at. That might become a bit thin for the Ravens, and Peoples-Jones for Browns as well, considering they don't have Odell Beckham anymore. So Tom, let's talk about the Draftstar slate here. It seems that the pricing is a little bit soft. Adding some injuries that's brought up some value for the guys here. And it looks like a slate that we can pretty much have some fun with.
Yeah, I'm not sure what has led to this, but the pricing is very soft, which basically just means there's a lot more viable plays than most weeks. The ownership should be a bit more spread out. Just forget about your game theory. Just play whoever you want to play and hope that you get things more right than everyone else, basically.
I suppose when people think they can play what they kind of play, it's almost you got to have a mindset. Well, these guys are going to play this guy. I might try something different this week. Is that something you're going to be employing, or you just be like, no, I'm just going to play the best players and see how I go?
I think I tend to do that a bit more in a normal week where I know there's like less kind of clearly underpriced players who will be more chalky than I think they will be this week. Try to find a reason to get off them, but I don't think you need to worry about it this week.
All right. Let's go through position by position on this Draftstar slate, 11 games, and we start here at quarterback. Now, a couple of things I want to quickly mention to start with. These COVID tags, they don't come up on Draftstars, all right? So they don't come up as out or injured. So straight away, if you look at the Green Bay situation, don't play Aaron Rodgers at $8,000, all right? He's not playing. Jordan Love is at $10,550. Quick question to you. Is Jordan Love on your radar this week?
I'm going to say don't play Aaron Rodgers and don't play Jordan Love either.
Oh.
No, it's hard to say. For me, we've never really heard anything good about him. And, an example is someone with kind of similar abilities as Justin Fields. I think he's a much better player, but he hasn't shown us anything out of the gate. So, yeah, I'm using that as my thinking for I'm just not expecting anything from Jordan Love this week. Kind of think the Packers could be a team to avoid this week. They might just fall to pieces a bit with what's going on there.
Even with Devontae Adams back, Aaron Jones in ripping up the Cardinals last week, you just don't seem to be keen as me.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it, but I could easily be wrong.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's talk about the rest of the pool here, including Josh Allen here at 15,890. I think he's very underpriced. The amount of times that he's involved in touchdowns, either through passing or through rushing, is almost I wouldn't say lock, but if we can play the best plays, obviously Allen is the top of the board for me. Is he going to be a majority of your teams this week?
Can't really beat that ceiling. The price end, I might be going, am I? Yeah, and obviously the matchup's pretty good. So, yeah, I think given that we have a lot of value elsewhere, I'm very happy to pay up at quarterback for Josh Allen.
Obviously, I just missed the first part of your sentence there, but it sounds like you're pretty keen on Josh there. Below him is 15,410 for Lamar Jackson. As I mentioned on the bets there, I think he's more involved in his passing game now. He's still rushing the ball, but I think they have abandoned the old rushing game, the Ravens now. So at 15,410, I do like him a little bit. But the story of this slate, as we've alluded to already, is the cheap guys here. So tell me about some cheap guys that could be appearing in your teams this week.
Yeah, one I wrote up in the article is Tua, mostly just on the strength of the Texans matchup, but the Dolphins have been looking a little bit better in recent weeks, and Tua's shown a little bit there with a couple of high 20s scores. Yeah, so I do like him, but there's plenty of other cheap options there. On the other side of that game, Tyrod Taylor's back this week. He's minimum price. We already saw just up a bit there. I think he only had one healthy game so far this season, and it was a good one. Yeah, and we'll see. The Texans haven't been playing very well, but maybe with Tyrod back, they put up more of a fight this week. I think he's a bit too cheap there. And the other one that stood out to me is Matt Ryan. Obviously, the Falcons are going terribly, and they've lost Calvin Ridley. Not a great matchup with the Saints, so they're likely going to have to throw the ball a lot. Yeah, and at that price, sort of 25 points is enough, so could easily get there.
It was a bit of a nightmare situation for the Falcons last week. Like, you lose your gun receiver, and then you get absolutely pummeled with no O-line. It's a bit of a risk. I know that price is so tempting, but I think Draftstars are onto something here. I think the Falcons against New Orleans, who are absolute weapon of a defense, and I don't think I can play Ryan at that price. I don't know. I don't think he can get to 10 points, but if he does, that's fantastic. But he's got no one to throw to. Maybe Cordell Patterson. He might get more involved, but
I would happily take it under 10 points bet.
But look at the receivers he's going to throw to. Look at them. No one.
Yeah. Well, Kyle Pitts and Patterson. Yeah, I'm not saying I love it, but sometimes the way you win in this game is, find someone that everyone else has given up on and just take a little chance.
There's also another bloke who's at the flat minimum. There's also the guy across the opposition is Trevor Siemian. What do you reckon his chances? Obviously, with Winston out, Winston obviously wasn't a massive fantasy producer, and I don't think the Saints are going to be changing their game plan at all for Trevor.
Yeah, I don't have much information on his, kind of scoring history, so I'm not sure what he's got. But again, at that kind of price, kind of anything over 20 is acceptable. So yeah, I think he's in play. Might be a bit hard to stack him, although if you join him up with Kamara, that might be enough. Just hope he throws Kamara in a couple of times.
Before we move on, anyone in the mid-tier bracket, which will probably go Crinemy under own this week?
Oh, I mean, there's quite a few there. I was just thinking before, like we're talking up Josh Allen. Justin Herbert is a very similar player in a similar setup with a similar, like, look at that ceiling there, 46. Haven't seen it as often as Allen just yet, but it's only his second year. So, yeah, any chance you get to play him, I don't think you can go too far wrong there. And then obviously Patrick Mahomes is cheaper than usual. It's a similar spot where maybe people are starting to worry about the Chiefs a bit. And like I said, the Packers might not show up this week, so it could be a good week to get back on the Chiefs.
One more for us before we move on. I do like Dak coming back off injury. Denver's pretty much traded away their best kind of defensive back, and Von Miller, injuries in their defensive line. I think Dak could go pretty well this week. But that's a lot of guys we're talking about this week. So good luck trying to nail them this week.
Yeah.
Running back. Now, as I said, we've got no more Henry anymore. We've got Austin Eckler leading there at 16,900. Alvin Kamara is starting to show some life there at 15,620. Aaron Jones, I've kind of pumped him up already at 15,420 after his big game last week. And then Christian McCaffrey at 15,320. So we might start with CMC. Back after injury reserve. What is his prospects this week against the Patriots?
Well, there's a lot of question marks there. Obviously, I haven't seen any talk yet of whether he's limited or snap count or anything like that. We don't even know who will be at quarterback for the Panthers. Darnold doesn't sound great with both a shoulder and a concussion, so it could be PJ Walker there, which might not hurt actually because backup quarterbacks tend to dump it off to the running back more often. Yeah, obviously the matchup. Yeah, Patriots tend to slow the game down a fair bit, so I don't love it, but he is cheaper than you'll get him at any other time. And yeah, for me, being next to Aaron Jones there, I would much rather take a chance on McCaffrey. Aaron Jones is a good player, but he tends to settle in the low 20s more often than not when he has a good game, and I'd rather take a punt on McCaffrey in one of his sort of 35-plus games.
Now, the one you're very keen on this week, which you can find on your article on dailyfantasyrankings.com.au, is Ezekiel Elliott for the Cowboys, only at 12,330. 11.3 game last week, but he has shown a good floor around that high teens, low 20s. But we haven't seen a massive, ceiling game yet. Look, only, one receiving touchdown, hasn't scored a touchdown in his last two games. Denver matchup, 12,330. You're all aboard, aren't you?
Well, I will say that, it's not because I came in saying, this is the week where Zeke goes off. It's more just because the price is just way too generous, like it is for a lot of players. Obviously, like you said, Denver's got a situation losing a few players there, so they seem to sort of have given up on the season somewhat. So I'm definitely not going 100% Zeke or anything, but he does stand out as kind of the best cash play, I guess, at running back.
Now, speaking of cheaper cash plays, Miles Gaskin is also another one you've highlighted. Obviously, the situation in Miami now means that it's just himself and a couple of other bums that might get some pass plays, but 9,250 seems very generous for a guy who could make a bit of a mess of the Texans.
Yep, absolutely. Obviously, you can see it's pretty volatile there, but Malcolm Brown is out this week, so that helps a little bit with the timeshare at running back. Yeah, like I said with Tua and Tyrod, this is kind of a game where it wouldn't shock you if Houston come out and win this one somehow. It wouldn't shock me if the Dolphins rack up a big score. I don't know which way it's going to go. But yeah, I think Gaskin will have the workload. He's got the goal line work. He's got the pass catching work. So just a great price there for him.
All right. Anyone else here in running backs this week?
It's probably easier to list the players that we can't play. I think basically from like Damian Harris there all the way up, well, definitely up to Zeke. There's just a whole bunch of players there that have the lead role, have a decent matchup. Who knows which one of them is going to pop off this week? And then, yeah, headline there by Nick Chubb. If he's healthy, if Cleveland can kind of get their act together and put something on the field this week, then that's a ridiculous price for him without Kareem Hunt.
I'm just going to do a bit of FOMO and Cordell Patterson at 9,860. If Ryan decides to pass him a lot, I think that's a great price for Cordell as well. Love Damian Harris as well, 9,140 against Panthers that could just be absolutely garbage. So he's in play as well. Look, there's a lot of players you can play here. This is going to be one of those slates where they're all great plays, and just hopefully one scores 3 or 4 points more than the other. That's what it's coming down to.
That's right.
It's kind of the same for the wide receiver because look, we've got Devontae Adams at 16,550 back off the COVID list. Diggs is there at 15,350. Look, I'm still waiting for his massive game there with Josh Allen. Tyreek Hill is going to be stupidly owned at 15,010 with an absolute, great matchup now against the Packers with a touchdown cover to come there. So out of these top, say, half a dozen receivers here, who are you looking at?
It's Tyreek Hill number one for me pretty easily. I'm guessing he'll be the chalkiest of the lot, but I don't really care. He's got easily the biggest ceiling, and I just think the Chiefs are coming this week. Yeah, and I did write up Diggs as well, but the longer the week goes on, the more I feel that the Bills just spread it around so much, and other teams are just looking to take Diggs away. So I'm not sure if it's worth betting on him every week, just waiting for that 35, 40-point week, or if you're better off just kind of using the cheaper Bills options in your Josh Allen stacks.
You're trying to say that he's going to be outscored by Hill more often than not at that price?
I think so, yeah.
Now, the one you are also keen on this is Jamar Chase at the Bengals at 12,870. Obviously, he had a massive game a couple of weeks ago, over 200 yards. Did score another touchdown, but only 3 catches last week against the Jets in that crazy game. That's an absolutely crazy game. So you like his chances for a little bit of a bounce back here against the Browns?
Yeah, I can't see why not. Teams haven't been struggling too much with the Browns. Burrow's just going to keep launching the ball to him whenever he's slightly open. Yeah, and just he's similar to Zeke in that the prices just makes it so you don't have a choice but to consider him this week.
Now, I want to get your thoughts on the Brown situation. Obviously, no more Beckham. He's no longer with the team. Landry is going to be playing there at 11,040. Rashee Higgins is at the minimum at 6,000. And then I talked about Peoples-Jones, who's now questionable He's also at the minimum. What's happening here? They're cheap enough to play, but can you consider them?
You can, I think, but personally, I think I'll just stick to trying to get a fair bit of exposure to Chubb and not worry about the passing game. Just there's too many things going wrong there. Like even Landry has his injury issues. Everyone has their injury issues. Baker Mayfield, offensive line has some injury issues, I think. Cincinnati's defense is not a pushover this year, so I'll just probably stick to Chubb and hope it's one of those weeks.
Another situation I want to keep an eye on is the Cardinals game. There are some cheap prices there. If you do have Kyler Murray pinned in as your quarterback, Rondale Moore at 6,350. 3 games in a row hasn't been targeted that much. So, but then again, it might happen this week. DeAndre Hopkins at 11,460. His price is getting cheaper and cheaper by the week. We're just not seeing these ceiling games from the Cardinals receivers, aren't we?
Yeah, or if you do, it's very hard to guess which one it will be. Hasn't been Hopkins so far. I think AJ Green is out. Is that right?
That's right. I was going to make a point of this because AJ Green's got COVID, so don't play him. Don't play him. That's why we're dished down to 3 now with Hopkins, Kirk, and Moore.
Yeah, and it sounds like Kyler they're going to test him before the game and see if he can play. So yeah, there's a lot of questions to be answered there before I worry about any Cardinal stacks.
Fair enough. Any other receivers before we move on?
Hollywood Brown is one that I put in the article, and that I think is, like a lot of players, he's too cheap. I think I said in the article 5 out of 7 games this season he scored 19 plus. Which 19 points will get it done at that price. Obviously Lamar is throwing the ball deep a lot, so I think that's one to get a fair bit of exposure to.
I think he might be appearing in my pool, I reckon. All right, tight end. All right, let's talk about the what's it called? The elephant in the room. George Kittle off injury reserve, and we get him at the min. How much is too much? Is probably the question I need to ask. How much is too much? If you're going to play, say, 10, 20, 100 lineups, is it just a lock button on Kittle, or are you like, no, you just hang on, temper expectations here?
I don't think there's anything wrong with lock button. Given that it's at the tight end position, it's not like there's heaps of alternatives. I think I'm definitely considering just locking him in, taking the saving and worrying about using that elsewhere.
Okay, cool. If you were going, okay, maybe not, what other options here at tight end that we could consider? Because these prices are not too bad too.
Oh yeah, there's plenty there. I talk about Gesicki and Goddard every week. I think they're both in play. Dalton Schultz has still got a great role, and we're expecting something from the Cowboys this week. I think even like Darren Waller, with what's going on at the Raiders, could be in for a lot of volume this week. The price isn't great, but maybe. There's probably some others there, but I've stopped looking. I think I'm just I'm just going.
Yeah, fair enough. Kittle by himself is looking great. I think also maybe Mark Andrews, if you're going to play a Jackson Hollywood Brown double here, you might have to consider him there. But yeah, it's Kittle all the way. There's not enough analysis here to tell you that he should be $7,000 more. So I think you just got to play the square there with Kittle. All right, let's look at the defense special teams. So if you actually saved enough money here, I reckon you could play anyone you want. in this particular position. If you are looking to struggle to get something under $6,000, is anyone under $6,000 to start with here, Tom, that you could probably guide us into?
Yeah, there's a couple. I think the Chiefs, as I've said a few times, not big on the Packers this week. First start for Jordan Love. That's always a good recipe for a defense. Maybe the Raiders. Every week I want to target Daniel Jones, but hasn't really been panning out lately. He seems to have tightened things up a bit, so not sure about that one. And then, I don't know, maybe Panthers against Mac Jones, just another rookie quarterback play. But, yeah, I don't think that's the right side of that game to play with a defense.
No. If you were going to pay up, obviously these two here, the Patriots against either a banged-up Darnold or a Walker there, that looks like a great play. Even the Saints against Ryan, who's going to score less than 10 fantasy points, according to me. So I think they're the two standouts there. I've also got a bit of Bengals action. I think they'd be hurting from last week. I think, Browns with no receivers. That could be a bit of a job there at 5,310. All right, so that's position by position for week 9. Obviously, you're going all in on Kittle. It looks like all in on Matt Ryan at cheaper prices. So you're going to have pretty much everyone else at a premium in your side. But any final thoughts before we look at the pool?
Well, firstly, I'll say I'm not going all in on Matt Ryan. Let's not get carried away there. No, not too many. I think just, as we've said a few times, with the pricing so soft, you can look around anywhere for any kind of unique plays that stand out to you. So don't be afraid to do something different to what we've said.
All right, let's go by the pool then. Oh, look at Matt Ryan in that picture there. Here we go. So at quarterback for me this week, I've got Josh Allen. I am going to roll the dice with Love and Tyrod Taylor. Tagovailoa is there, and obviously Lamar Jackson. Zeke, Gaskin, Patterson, Eckler, Kamara, and Jones. I think you got enough money to spend up at running back. Wide receivers, obviously Tyreek Hill, Devonta Adams if you're going to go the Love, Diggs if you're going to go with Allen, Cooks if you're going to go with Taylor. It just makes sense. Waddle with Tua, Hollywood Brown, Chase, and I think Rondé Moore might get in some work for the Cardinals. At tight end, it's Kittle. If not, Gesicki, Andrews, and Waller. And Patriots, Saints, and Bengals are the special teams for me this week. Apologies for the little breakup in Tom's video this week. Obviously, it's pouring down the farm there, so he's going to go out and get his gumboots on and obviously get back to his harvest. Look, enjoy the sleep in, Tom. Thanks to all the viewers out there. We'll be back for week 10 for the Draftstars NFL Show. Flick us a like here wherever you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, or on Facebook. Any questions, send them through anytime. Good luck for the weekend, mate.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me. And yeah, hopefully that internet's not too bad. The odd satellite doesn't like the clouds around.
And just another breakup before you go. Well done, mate. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Catch you later.
See ya.